Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to the petition, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and sign the log, please.
Michael King from Massachusetts Family Institute. Just want to talk about three quick things. Number one, there is a moratorium on commercial shops, and it seems like this may be a medical masquerading as a commercial, even from some of the things that were said tonight. We have seen this as a trend across the state of Massachusetts where these medical shops will open and then they will transition to commercial shops. It's a huge concern. I think some of the things that were being talked about, it's interesting that they've chosen zoning that has just been zoned for commercial, but they want to put a medical shop in a commercial zone. Some of the concerns mentioned tonight, I think, if I can quote, I think we're going to use debit cards. I think you should be sure, if you're opening up a business, that you're going to use something so important as debit cards. They did mention cash, and I think it's something worth noting. I'm looking at a article here, December 21st, 2018, Century Bank CEO says we won't work in recreational pot under the current law. So we're seeing banks getting out of the marijuana industry, which means that there's more cash involved. And so what we're seeing in Colorado, there was actually, the Boston Globe actually had a story that there was one pot shop that was robbed 10 times. And you have to ask the question, what do you get when you have a bunch of cash and a bunch of drugs? Who does that attract? And is that what you want to attract in Waltham? So this is and I'm not making this up, this is a big issue that these are done in cash. So wouldn't we want to wait until the federal government catches up and perhaps legalizes it, which we obviously, from our point of view, we wouldn't want, but at least it would allow you to use debit cards, because the speaker, out of full respect for the speaker as well, but I would imagine that you should know if you're using debit cards. So I would imagine maybe they're not. Also, it's an interesting group of people here tonight. There was a representative here from the SEIU, and he was concerned about this industry that wants to come in. And his concern was from a social justice point of view. And I think we've heard this comment before, social justice. Well, it's interesting to me, number one, can't we offer something better than a pot shop for a hand up economically? And number two, interesting, what's being built adjacent to this building, or this 305 Second Ave. It's a 40B low-income housing unit. Are we not concerned about the possibility of young kids that might be living in this 40B unit, and they're bringing their friends home from school and driving right by a pot shop? Does that concern anybody in the room? We know statistically that geographically, when you have a pot shop that has a exposure to young people are more apt to purchase from that pot shop. It just makes sense. If you can see the pot shop, you might go purchase from it. So that would be a concern. We also had a traffic study tonight, and I find that interesting as well, because if you guys read the story in Leicester, where we had the first pot shop open in Massachusetts, if you read the paper, it said that there was a huge traffic issue in Leicester. Now, I don't even know if everyone in this room knows where Leicester is, okay? But everybody knows where Waltham is. So when we look at a traffic study and we say, okay, you're going to have, what was it? One additional over 42 seconds, okay? One additional car. Okay. Waltham is so much different than Leicester in terms of size instead of population. You know what happened in Leicester? They had so many cars in line on Main Street that people couldn't get out of their driveways because the road was blocked on the way to the pot shop. And there was also stories about people urinating in people's front yards. Now, I know that's shock value, but it was in the article, so I thought I'd mention it. So something to consider as well. And I think it might be, I don't know if we can do this or not, but it would be interesting to ask this company if they would be willing to sign something saying we're only going to stay medical and we'll never transition to recreational. I know there's this 3-year term they were talking about. So I don't know if that's when they want to transition to recreational. I mean, they mentioned they're the number 2 recreational store in Norwood, and they have a grow facility in Leominster. There's no other medical shop of this company. It's all either grow or recreational. So what do you think they're going to do in Waltham? It's going to be recreational. You might have heard the story in Holden, Massachusetts, where 2 middle school boys were on a bus eating gummy bears that they thought were just gummy bears, and they were laced with THC. This brings up the THC issue. Both of them had to be rushed to the hospital. This brings up the THC issue. Are they going to label their product with the percent of THC in the product? Look, in Europe, anything over 16% THC is considered a hard drug. Anything over, I want to say it again, anything over 16%. Okay, so just give that a little perspective. In the 70s, the pot in the 70s was 3 to 4% THC. Okay, the pot now is anywhere between 14 to 30% average. So I'm just saying that on average, it's a hard drug. Okay, so if they're going to transition to recreational, we should be aware of all these facts. And then lastly, I know I've been up here a while, and I appreciate your patience, but I just want to point out, as was stated before, that, look, there's a lot of people in Waltham that would love to have another vote on this, and I hope that the City Council would still consider that. The stakes are just too high, and I'll give you 2 examples real quick. The town of Acton on Route 2, on December 3rd, 2018, the town of Acton had 1,100 people come to the town hall. 1,100 people. When's the last time you had 1,100 people come to a city hall meeting or a town hall meeting? 76% of those 1,100 people voted to opt out of recreational marijuana. 76%. Okay? And I'll mention that Acton was a yes town in 2016. Okay? We're also finding that 84% of towns that were yes towns, when they take a local vote, 84% end up voting no to opt out. So again, I just hope that and one other thing, the city of Lowell is in the same predicament as Waltham, and there's a wonderful campaign in Lowell going on right now to do the same thing as Waltham's trying to do. I've spoken in the past 2 months, I've spoken at about 10 different meetings, Ugandan, Hispanic, English. There are so many people hungry to hear about this message, because the very people that they're talking about on a social justice point of view, that they want to give an opportunity for a pot shop, I find, as I'm out in the city, they don't want it. And these shops end up all the time, if you look at the statistics, these shops end up in low-income areas, okay? And who are they owned by? The wealthy. This is not a social justice. This is parading as social justice so that people can make a ton of money. I'm a capitalist, I get it, but let's not do it this way, okay? So I would just hope that you'd put this on hold, because it looks to me like a medical that wants to be a commercial. And consider, please consider letting the people vote, like over 100 cities and towns have already voted successfully to opt out of commercial marijuana. Thank you.
Thank you.